Hello everyone! Today we're going to make this fun little art quilt for Valentine's Day that sticks to the front of your refrigerator. We are jumping in and getting straight to work today. Now, to save time in this video, I've gone ahead and cut out all of my pieces to make up my border, and I've cut out the center background for the top of my quilt. We're going to go ahead and start tracing the pieces for the applique portion of this quilt called Be Mine. If you'd like a copy of this pattern, it is a 4-page PDF, and a link will be in the description box that brings you over to my Etsy shop. Today for the applique, I'm going to be using Heat and Bond Light and tracing out 4 of these hearts that run down the center of our quilt. And I'm just using a marker to do that on the paper side of the Heat and Bond. So I will trace out 4 hearts and then their little shadow counterparts that go along with the hearts. When I trace out my shadows, I do add a little bit of extra space that will tuck up underneath of the heart. So I will trace 2 that go this way. And then I will trace 2 that go the opposite way. Once you have all of your pieces traced, you can go ahead and separate them with a pair of scissors and heat up your iron and bring in your fabrics. This is the colorways that I will be using for my hearts. They kind of look like Easter. Now that I've applied the Heat and Bond Light to the back side of my fabrics and cut out all of my shapes, here's my 4 hearts, and you can see I still have the paper backing of the Heat and Bond still on the back side. I'm ready to go ahead and trace out all of my words. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be using my daughter's Christmas gift that she got. It's an LED light pad or a light box, and I wanted to test this out and see how well it works in my studio because I've been wanting one and I wanted to see how well it worked. Today I'm going to be using a fabric marker to trace out all of my words into the center part of the heart. This LED light pad has 3 different brightness settings, and you can see how well you could see through the fabric, and that is with the paper backing still on the back side of my heart. I want to go through and trace all of the letters, and if you did not want to do a satin stitch on top of your letters, you would be perfectly ready to go if you use a fabric marker and follow the directions according to whichever kind of fabric marker that you have. I will be doing a satin stitch on top of my letters, but see how well you can see through this fabric. I am just super excited about how well it works. I cannot wait to go and order one of these for myself. Think of all the different ways that you could use this little light box. So I'm just going to go through and trace. Look, this is the purple one, which is the darkest fabric, and I can still see through that as well. Now I'm going to bring in the quilt top and we're going to fuse these hearts into place. Now that I'm done tracing all of my words onto the hearts, I've removed the paper backing from the back side of each one, and we're ready to bring in the center of our quilt. I like to go ahead and fold this in half long ways and give that a quick press just to mark a center guideline so I can line up all of the different hearts throughout the center of my quilt. Now I'll just play with the placement, placing them going down throughout my quilt top. This quilt is a lot of fun, and I have to say, A lot of people do not like conversation hearts, but they're one of my most favorite candies. I always look forward to Valentine's Day. With the little shadow pieces, again, because I've added a little bit of extra to that fabric part, I have enough that I can tuck up underneath of the heart. So when I do my satin stitch to finish off the heart, I only have to do it one time going in between those two layers of fabric. I'm going to just line that up till it looks right and press that into place. And I'll do the same thing. I like to tack down one side so there's no movement while I place the shadow piece underneath, and then I'll continue fusing the whole heart with the shadow piece in place. Moving on to the pink heart. This quilt is a lot of fun. I love having things that can decorate my refrigerator, and this quilt is going to be the perfect size to do that. We're on to the last one. And this is when I realized that the pink shadow should have gone in the other direction, but that's okay. I'm going to give it a quick fuse from the back and make sure everything is really well infused down. And then we're going to go to the sewing machine and do a satin stitch with our letters. Now I'm ready to go ahead and do a satin stitch on top of all of my letters. You can see here I took a scrap piece of fabric and tested out a satin stitch until I got the right width that I was happy with to do my letters. And then I thought I'd just bring you along for part of this so that you could see, even if you don't have an embroidery machine, with a little bit of practice you could certainly do satin stitch with letters in different fonts. It really just takes some practice and some patience. So I'm going to go through right over top of all of my letters that I traced onto the heart and do a satin stitch. Now this part is a little bit time consuming, and there's a lot of rotating the fabric around and starting and stopping, but the results are just amazing, and I think it's well worth the time if you wanted to practice your satin stitch and sew them onto your quilts. That would be awesome. So I'm getting along with my new machine very well. I absolutely love her. I think she was well worth the investment and the upgrade. This will be my, let's see, third quilt project with her. I'm still trying to get used to the different feet, but I think getting over that struggle is nothing compared to all of the different upgrades that I got with the new machine. So just continuing on, going over top of all of my letters. And this is how you would do a satin stitch without an embroidery machine. Go ahead and do this for all of your letters, and we're going to meet back, and I'm going to do a satin stitch around all of my hearts as well. Now that all the letters have been stitched down, I'm going to go ahead and bring in some different color thread, and I'm going to do a satin stitch around all of my heart appliques using a different thread for each one of the hearts. Thought I'd bring you along and show you the stitch out on the yellow heart and see how easy and pretty quick that goes. I do have a tearaway stabilizer on the back side underneath my quilt top, just to keep all my stitches nice and pretty. And we're just going to work all the way around the heart, and I will do this changing colors for each one of the 4 different hearts. This quilt is a lot of fun. Again, these are probably one of my most favorite candies. And I've talked to several people since I showed a picture of this quilt, and it's either you love these candies or you hate them. I would love to hear what you think about conversation hearts down in the comment section below. Be nice though, because again, I really do like these candies. We're going to snip off the little thread that we created at the very beginning. And now we're moving on to the shadow part. Stitching right along that edge all the way down. Now once this is done, I will change out my thread and move on to the next one. And we will do this for each one of the hearts. And then attach our borders. Give everything a press and then layer our quilt. We're going to come back and do some quilting together. Once you're done with all of your applique and stitching them all down, go ahead and attach your borders. I like to start with the left and right side borders first, attaching them with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I add my top and bottom borders. Once those are pressed, go ahead and layer your quilt, and then you're ready to do any kind of quilting that you would like to do. Today I'm going to use my Juki and do some free motion work. Today I'm using the free motion foot that came with my Juki, and I'm just going to do some meander quilting in the background, and thought I'd bring you along and show you the process. It has been a long while since I've done quilting work on my sit-down machine, and it is a lot of fun. I am really out of practice. I'm used to quilting with my knolting, but I love actually sitting down and doing quilt work, and so I look forward to using my Juki to do a lot more projects like this. I'm just going around all of my different applique and stitching or quilting the center part of my quilt first. Once the background is all nice and quilted, I will stitch around each one of my applique pieces and then do some quilting in the border. So this quilt, when finished, will measure 14 inches wide and 30 inches long. And when I designed the quilt, I measured out the bottom portion of my fridge and made a quilt that would look nice decorated on the front of my refrigerator. We're going to be adding some magnets to our quilt, and I'm going to show you that part next. If you did not want to add magnets, but you still want to add these little corners that we're going to do next, you could easily insert a dowel rod and hang this quilt up anywhere in your home or office. I think it would be really cute if you took this to work. So the little pockets on the back are great for that as well. Of course, you could leave off the corners and put this quilt onto a tabletop. That would be really cute. I'm just filling in all of the background with a pretty loose meander stitch. And we are coming back up towards the top. Now I will go and finish all the rest of the quilting work, and we'll be ready to add the corners on the back. Now we are ready to add some pockets for magnets. These are some round magnets that I picked up from Walmart. And I have four 4-inch squares that I cut from some extra fabric. So I'm going to take my squares and I'm going to fold them diagonally, forming a triangle. I'm going to give that a good press. Pressing it nice and flat. I've already attached the binding to the front side of my quilt and pressed that all nice and flat, and so we're ready to bring it to the back side of the quilt. I will be using some Elmer's glue. The first thing I do is add a little bit of glue right along the raw edge of my quilt. And then I align the 90-degree angle of my triangles to the corners of my quilt. And now I can continue glue basting the binding down like I normally would, and setting that with a good hot iron with a little bit of steam. Pressing that until the glue is dry, and that will hold my binding down in place. And I would do this all the way around my quilt, and then bring this back to the sewing machine one last time and stitching from the front right in the ditch of my binding to finish off and complete my quilt. So go ahead and do that. That will add your 4 little pockets for your magnets. And your magnets just slide right into the pocket. We'll finish up inside the house. I finished sewing the binding and our quilt is complete. Look how adorable that is on the front side of my refrigerator. The little magnets are hidden inside the pockets, and they just snap right onto the refrigerator and hold our quilt into place. Now I love to do this with small quilts and decorate for different holidays. Thank you so much for sewing with me today, and stay tuned for some friend mail. I got a postcard from Miss Carol all the way in Australia. Thank you so much, Carol, for thinking about me and sending me this postcard. I really enjoyed reading your note that you attached. Thank you so much for following along. We'll see everyone really, really soon. Bye.